Hi, boys and girls. Today I'm going to read to you a kind of like a realistic fiction story, but it's an animated book about the origins of manga and anime. So this gives you some connection of some Japanese artists and historians. So it's exciting because these are some of the people that brought you eventually Pokemon, but it starts from the very beginning. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and I bring to you Anime and Manga, the Asian Hall of Fame. Oh, and the authors are Phil Amara and Oliver Chin, illustrated by Juan Kali. Ethan and Emma saw a colorful crowd headed to the convention center. This looks fun, said Ethan. Let's check it out, suggested Emma. Once inside, they could hardly believe their eyes. Asian comic books featured a rainbow of characters. I want to write stories like these, said Emma. Fantastic cartoons played with sensational action. I want to draw those, shouted Ethan. I can show you, said a kind voice. It was Dao Yu. This special red panda had taught them about ramen and fireworks. The Japanese word for comics is manga. Animation is anime, he explained. Do you want to learn how they are created? Sure, they replied. The history of how Japan's popular culture changed the world is amazing, said Dao. By banging his small gong, he could transport them to a distant place and time. So let's go. Gone. Welcome to the 12th century, announced Dao. In the old capital Nara, Buddhists practiced hitoki, or telling a story from a scroll. It is like a cartoon, observed Emma. Smaller scenes in the painting combined to tell a larger tale. Zoom, they appeared in 1840 in Tokyo. Manga means playful drawings, said Emma. That's what these are, remarked Ethan. Hokusai was a famous painter, Dao said. Prints of his art were bound into books that became bestsellers. They zipped to Osaka in 1935. Dao explained, traveling storytellers carried kamishibai, large pictures displayed in a wooden box. I see, said Ethan. When the performer shows another illustration, the audience hears the next part of the story. You read manga from right to left, then top to bottom. Whoa, going backwards takes practice. However, Osamu Tezuka and his friends loved reading comics and newspapers. They whisked ahead to 1945. Dao whispered. However, during World War II, the government rationed paper. That means they only let some paper be distributed or read. They banned manga, so that means they didn't allow people to read it at all, and hired artists to make posters and cartoons that supported their empire. So basically, if you supported them, then those were the only papers you could read, or the ones that backed them, even if they were cruel. After the war, like many nations, Japan had to rebuild, said Dao. The US occupied Japan until 1952, and American culture was very influential. Osamu Tezuka studied to be a doctor, but became an artist. Tezuka serialized his comic strips in many monthly magazines at the same time. He was so busy that he started his own studio. A manager handled his business while many assistants finished his drawings details. Called the god of manga, Tezuka loved seeing and producing films too. He created a robot boy, a white lion cub, and a mysterious doctor, and many more. In his lifetime, he drew 150,000 pages and created 60 anime. And as you recall, anime is like the actual cartoons, whereas the manga are the comic strips. Zap, the trio were in the 1960s. Now everyone wanted to watch TV, said Dow. Anime was more than superheroes. One of the first anime broadcasts in the US, Tetsujin 28, is a gigantic robot controlled by a boy. Speed Racer is an 18-year-old who wants to be the best pro race car. Oh, this is Emma speaking, sorry. Speed Racer is an 18-year-old boy who wants to be the best pro race car driver, said Emma. Doraemon is a robot cat from the future who plays with kids like us, said Ethan. To satisfy growing demand, Japanese publishers supplied weekly magazines, said Dow. Stores sold millions of copies. Editors explored new categories and topics to interest every reader. Publishers targeted titles for males and females of all ages. Commuters read thick manga on the subway. There's even one for little children. Seinen for men, Hosei for women, Shonen for boys, Shoujo for girls. In the 1970s, the science fiction genre of mecha featured giant machines. The teenage Koji pilots the 60-foot Mazinger to protect the Earth. Gatchaman's 5 heroes drive vehicles that unite into a superplane. Mecha battled other planets. Space battleship Yamata recast Japan's grandest World War II ship in 2199. Boasted by Popular Toys, Gundam has spacecraft transform into huge armored samurais. They leapt into the 1980s. Women were creators too, said Ethan. Rumiko Takahashi spun funny stories about girls' relationships with boys, said Emma. Meanwhile, Dragon Ball showed epic battles of mythic warriors, noted Dow. Other futuristic manga like Akira and Ghost in the Shell became anime. Translated into foreign languages, these thrilling and explosive adventures were unlike anything most Westerners had seen and made them want more. 1989 ended an era as both Japan's emperor and Osamu Tezuka died. But by then, Hayao Miyazaki started a new one. His company, Studio Ghibli, produced a string of celebrated animated movies like My Neighbor Totoro. Exploring how people coexist with nature, his tales paint extraordinary lands in bold watercolors. Box office champs in Japan, they won awards worldwide, and Miyazaki was called the Walt Disney of Japan. In 1990s, other stories gained fans from around the globe. In Sailor Moon, teenage girls used magical powers as Earth's protectors. Cute characters, colored hair, pointed chins, and big eyes symbolized the manga style. Originally a handheld video game, Pokemon jumped to trading cards, television, and then comics, marveled Dow. Soon, hundreds of creatures were found on books, home videos, movies, dolls, merchandise, and clothing. 40% of Japan's print sales were manga, said Dow. The tankobon was the handiest way to buy and read. Emma said, every Japanese spent an average of $50 a year. Ethan said, that's a super fan. And otaku. So I guess now otaku is a super fan. Who's that? Asked Emma, noticing a shy girl scribbling in a sketchbook. I don't know. Not yet, anyway, answered Dow. She has doujinshi, fan fiction stories she made all by herself. So like what you guys are going to do. Manga and anime can be about anything, noted Emma. Pirates, ninjas, kittens, cat fangs, sweat drops, speed lines, sparks, hearts, and eyes show how a character feels, added Dow. So think about that, friends, when you make your comic. When you make your comic character or characters. So you're going to be making a comic strip and you want to think about that, how your character is going to look, how it shows expression. These are cool emoji jokes, Ethan. Whoosh, they return to the 21st century. Anime music is so catchy, sighed Emma. Others admire the art, smiled Ethan. They toured museums about creators, studios, and comics. Now Japanese creations influence artists and entertainment all over the globe. They were back in Tokyo, where stories overflowed with stories and streets with fans. Today we can enjoy manga wherever we are, said Emma. Anime stream on the internet to TVs, computers, and phones, said Ethan. We've come a long way, concluded Emma. But it still starts with a good idea and elbow grease, added Ethan. Oops, that reminds me, yelped Dao. It's time to go back. He hit his gong. Gong. In a final puff of magic smoke, they were back at the Comic-Con. As the kids sorted their snazzy souvenirs, curious cosplayers gathered around. Was learning about anime and manga fun? Asked Dao. You bet, Ethan and Emma were inspired. We're going to write and draw our own cartoons. With a wiggle of his ears and a graphic novel in his paws, Dao laughed. I can't wait to read and watch them. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story, friends. Let me stop my share. Eventually. Okay. I'm not going to worry about stuff. Oh, now I'm going to stop my share. Okay. Sorry about the little mispronunciations. It was getting used to the pronunciations of the different names, but I did my best. Next time I'll do better. But for now, have fun enjoying your comic adventure and creating your characters and eventually your comic strips, and stay curious.